Now we're going to learn how to use Cramer's rule for three equations containing three variables. But before we go over that, I want to show you again your Cramer's rule for two equations containing two variables. Because honestly, if you understand this, then you're going to understand it when it's three. So x is dx over d, y is dy over d. Your d is your x and your y coefficient, so that's your a, b, c, d. dx, we exchanged our x column for what the equation equaled. And for dy, we exchanged what our y column equaled. And for that equal sign into that y column, then our x stayed the same. On this one, our y stayed the same, right? This is honestly the exact same thing. When I have three variables with three equations, we have our x column, which has coefficients of a, d, g. We have our y column, which has coefficients of b, e, h. And we have our z column, which has coefficients of z, f, i. And then whatever this equation here equals. So to be able to solve this, x is still dx over d, y is still dy over d, and then shocker, z is dz over d. So now we need to define what is d, what is dx, dy, and dz. Well, d is your coefficients of your x, y, and z. So we have basically a through I, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I is your d column. Then when we get to dx, you are now going to replace your x column with what this equals. In this case, that equals stu. So we're going to replace our x column with stu, but then our y column stays BEH and our z column stays CFI. Then dy, we replace our y column with our stu, which is again what this equation equals. And then our x column stays the same, ADG. Our z column stays the same, CFI. And then lastly for dz, we now replace our z column with stu, with what the equation equals. Our x column remains the same, and our y column remains the same. Okay, so pause this video to get that all copied down, and I'll kind of stop it right here for a second. And then I'll stop it right here for a second so you can get that all copied down and pause that. Okay, and so now let's apply this. So on the next page here, we have our Cramer's rule. So let's first find our determinants, and this time we're going to have 4 3 by 3. So D is going to equal my x, y, and z coefficients. My x coefficients are 1, 2, 5. My y coefficients are -1, -3, 1. Our z column is 1, 4, -2. And now we will find our dx. And we're actually going to just write these all first, and then we'll evaluate them. So now my dx, I'm going to replace my x column with what this equals. So -4, -15, and 12. And I'm going to copy down my y and my z column here. Okay, so now d sub y. Now my x column isn't going to change, so I'm going to rewrite 1, 2, 5. But now my y column is going to get replaced with what this equation equals. So -4, -15, and 12. And then my z column will stay as 1, 4, -2. And then lastly for d sub z, my x and y column aren't going to change. So I'm using my d column, my D determinant, I'm going to recopy my X and Y. And now for my Z column, we will write -4, -15, and 12. Okay. Okay, so D sub X replaced our X column, D sub Y replaced our Y column, D sub Z replaced our Z column. So we now have 4 3x3 determinants here. We have solved, let me find it, a 3x3 determinant, and it took a little bit of work, right? We had to use our cofactor expansion along the first row to make several 2x2 determinants. You can do this 4 different times if you want, but the easiest way is to put this in our calculator. So let me now show you how to put this in our calculator. This is going to be set up at first a lot like what we did last lesson when I was putting in matrices. So we're going to go into our matrix right here. So second X to the -1. I'm going to come over here to edit. I'm going to edit my matrix. Now, even though this is a determinant, we're going to kind of treat it the same way in the calculator. So this is going to be a 3x3. And now I'm going to put in this first one. So remember, you don't need to clear anything. 1, enter. It writes over and goes to the next one. So -1, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter, and keep going. Okay, before we get out of here, what are we going to do? Hopefully you said check, right? We've got to check it. Don't get it wrong because you entered it in wrong. So it takes 3 seconds. 1, 2, 5, -1, -3, 1, 1, 4, -2. Great, I'm done. So I'm going to quit now. So second mode, go back into your matrix one more time. I take that back 2 more times, but second X to the -1 to bring up your matrix, go over here to math. So really nothing has changed so far, right? Before we went right here to this RREF, but now the very first option, that DET, that's your determinant. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go back into matrix one more time and hit matrix A. And my determinant here is -5. Okay, so now let's do this 3 more times. And now we just need to edit this a little bit. So second X to the -1, come over here to edit. It's still a 3x3, but now I need to replace this row right here. So we have -4, -15, and 12. Okay, everything else is good. So quit. You can go back through the steps. Let's just go ahead and do that one more time. We go second X to the -1. Come over here to math. We want the very first one determinant. Don't hit enter yet because you're getting an error. It doesn't know what to evaluate the determinant of if you do not tell your calculator. Matrix A. So second X to the -1, matrix A, hit enter. And this one is also -5. Okay, let's edit again here. Second X to the -1, come over here to edit. Still 3x3. I now need to put my X column back in order and change my Y. So 1, I'm just going to retype all of it because I think that's going to be quicker. Okay, and we're going to check it. Okay, checked. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit differently this time. Instead of going back through, I'm still going to quit. But instead of going back through and going second X to the -1, arrowing over to math, hitting determinant, second X to the -1, selecting matrix A. If you already have this matrix up here, or this determinant up here, just highlight it and hit enter, and it knows that you've reprogrammed that matrix A, and so now we get -15. You don't need to really go back through those steps once you've done it once. Okay, so second X to the -1, come over here to edit. And now I'm going to put this back in because I need to put my Y column back and change out my Z. And I will check it. Okay, done. That's how quick those checks are. So quit and then come back up here, highlight determinant A and hit enter twice. And we get 10. So instead of doing this by hands, we let the calculator determine them all. And so now we can evaluate our X, Y, and Z. X is D sub X over D. D sub X is -5. And D is also -5, so we get 1. Y is D sub Y over D. D sub Y is -15 over D, which is -5, so we get 3. And then lastly, D sub Z over D is going to give me D. D sub Z is 10, and D is still -5. So we get -2. Now my math lab is going to say X equals Y equals Z equals, but I like ordered pairs. So this is X comma Y comma Z. We've got 1, 3, -2 as our final answer here. Now I do want to show you that you can use this calculator to determine your 2x2 determinants as well. Let me find my sheet. Okay, so if I go back to page 25 here, you can program these in as well. So if we go into second X to the -1, arrow over here to edit, we can change this to a 2x2. We can put in 3, 5, 2, 1. Exit. Let's pretend that those aren't all there. We'll go second X to the -1, arrow over to math, hit determinant. And then X to the -1, matrix A, and we get that -7. If you are struggling with these 2x2 determinants and this minus in the middle is tripping you up and you're getting that sign wrong, put them into your calculator. If you're good at using this formula and that minus isn't confusing you, just do it by hand. It's so much quicker to do it by hand than program this in your calculator. But don't let this formula stop you from being able to do like your things. Don't let it stop you from being able to evaluate and use Cramer's rule, right? If you're struggling to get to these answers here because this sign is messing you up, you can put all of these into your calculator and evaluate them.